Thanksgiving is a big thing in my friend group. We get together for the American version of Thanksgiving. We watch football. It's always been kind of one of the few times we can all get together. With all the COVID restrictions, it's been smaller and smaller, and the plans were constantly changing. And then we got it down to me and four guys. We had one kind of bowl of food. We had all our gloves out, all our hand washing stations, spread out as much as we could in my living room, watched 2 games of football, and went our separate ways.
That is not 100% sure. When I really started looking into it and tracing back, I realized that I was around quite a few different people that had tested positive, that of course didn't know at the time. So it was really hard to narrow down when exactly I contracted it.
I'm not sure. I was at a couple places, eatery places Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
I would have got it through Patty through the people at the Bonspiel.
I'm not positively sure. Public health was concerned about my contacts the couple of days before I got sick, and the only people I was around was about 3 or 4 coworkers as well as my family in those 2 days. So they think it was possibly at work.
Yes, it was through my son's daycare.
The next morning is when I got a call from my friend saying, "Oh, sorry guys, been a close contact," so we're all kind of waiting to see. We all had a good laugh about it because me being frontline healthcare, we all expected me to be the first one to get it and to get an exposure at work, and it happened to not be that way. So it was all kind of a whirlwind from there.
No, and I had the Canada COVID tracking app on. I did get notified when I was in the hospital in the COVID ward or areas that I had it.
I'm not sure how I got COVID-19. I tried to think back to all the places I had been. And when the health authority called me, they did an extensive contact trace, probably about an hour-long interview, retracing my steps, trying to think who I'd had contact with. And so even then, no one has to this day contacted me and said, we were together and I got sick. Did you get sick? No one has reached out to me, so I'm not sure.
So my mom and I had been in isolation for a week and a half before I started being symptomatic. So got it from her.
I mean, first I went to Google, which is a terrible mistake because Google pregnancy COVID, it's not pretty. And I'm kind of in uncharted territory. And when I spoke with my doctor about it, she said, I don't even really know how to take care of you because I only know of 2 cases.
That's all I can think of because I've been pretty cautious everywhere that I've gone and wearing masks. And so a little surprised that I ended up getting it.
I'm not 100% sure how I contracted the virus. I do work in a high school where we do have positive cases. I have to admit that my wife and I were and our family, we take COVID and the precautions very seriously. She likes to go out. We have a newborn at home, so she likes to get out and do the grocery shopping and just take a break whenever she can. So I don't even really go out to do that stuff. So I'm figuring it had to be maybe at the school, but who knows?
He was asymptomatic when he came over to my house. We're all a pretty responsible group of guys. So we know, even a head cold, we're not going to go out. We're not going to expose any other people if we know. He had no idea. So he got his close contact call on Friday. I think he was swabbed later that afternoon, and then he became sick in our group chat. He was telling us about fever and coughs and just feeling really bad for a couple of days. So we all kind of assumed that he had it, and then I got tested. Obviously, I ended up positive. There are 2 other guys that were a little bit closer contact than I was in my living room, as much as you can stay away from people. They were both positive, and then one other guy who was there was a negative. We don't know how he managed to be not infected with COVID at the time, but just magically he stayed out of the line of fire.
I guess that just being in a big crowded ass group of people with like a whole pile of people in a room, was what kind of did it. You know, it's a virus that travels through droplets and through close contact with lots of people, which is why you hear stories about COVID people catching COVID in group situations. So I'm going to say I was in a dorm/group situation, no fault of anybody, but we didn't know what was going on. And then at the time, like, I think we just were all stuffed together, and someone must have been either asymptomatic or had it and didn't know it. And I just was in the room or in an elevator. You know, I could have caught it in the elevator. I could have caught it anywhere.
If I were to guess where I contracted COVID, I would say it was either through someone who is asymptomatic at my work, so in school, or because my part-time job or my side gig is a marriage commissioner, I could have contracted it from a wedding. Now, I had been very careful at weddings, keeping distance, disinfecting all the utensils I used, or the pens and everything, wearing my mask, not shaking hands or hugging. But it's possible that is a place where I got it.
Basically, it was rare and they don't really know much about it. We're all in really uncharted territory, but pregnancy is even more uncharted. So I just was worried about the baby, and I didn't know what we were going to be able to do or how this was going to affect the baby. So that was kind of my biggest concern.
One is that we sat across from another couple from the States, and his wife was coughing and sneezing and that sort of stuff. But I never put that together. And the other one was when we took on supplies, both the ship's crew and the people that were loading it onto our ship, they were all had their hazmat on and everything else. But what they forgot to do was clean up all the tomatoes that came in boxes and all this. That never happened. And then we ended up getting it shortly after that. And then things got a little, depressed on our ship. It was a smaller ship. We held about 1,500 people, and 200 of the 15, we all got COVID. And 4 passed on the ship by the time we got into Fort Lauderdale. So, I had this big red dot on my door, like hands off. And they almost had security guard in there because I did look out once down the hall on the ship. And then the first thing that happened, get your damn head back in there. So.
Oh, you do remember.
That I did, yeah.